Today we're going to attempt to make summer sausage. Emphasis on attempt. I've tried it a few times in the past and let's just say results have been mixed. I don't know, it's perfectly edible. It doesn't look or taste quite the way that I think it should. So I've got some better equipment. I've done some more research. I feel like this is our chance to finally get it right. Now, if you're not familiar with summer sausage, that's what we call it here in the US. It's a type of fermented bologna, and traditionally it was made in the winter, this time of the year, and people like to give it out as a gift, for the holidays. And the fermentation process, was a natural preservative, and it was a way of keeping meat safe to eat through the summer, before there was refrigeration. This is a high mountain sausage making kit. It has the cure and the spices and the casings and pretty much everything that we need except for the meat. I know a lot of guys like to make up their own, spice blends and whatnot, but I don't do this every day, so if I start slinging around spices like Emerald Lagasse, I feel like it's going to be a recipe for disaster. So we're buying it. We're going to use what the professionals recommend. I've got 23 pounds of venison here. To that, we're going to add 6 pounds of bacon. That's our source of fat. The recipe says to use pork. We're going to substitute in bacon. Not sure how it's going to work because the bacon is already cured, so it has its own salt and spices and whatnot involved. We'll see. Hoping for the best. I can't see bacon making something worse. I also have 2 pounds of high temperature cheese. So we're going to give that a shot. Yeah, I guess first things first, let's get the pork mixed with the venison and we'll start grinding. The one thing I've learned about grinding meat, cold is your friend. Of course, it's December and we're in northern Illinois, so it's not hard to find cold. I've got the bacon and the venison still partially frozen. I put the meat grinder parts outside. They're nice and cold. The colder it is, the better it goes through the grinder. If it gets warm, it just turns into this sticky, goopy, gelatinous mess. Most of this venison is from the doe I got this year, but there is about 6 pounds I pulled out of the nether regions of my freezer, and this is a good way to use up some of that stuff that's been lurking in the bottom. Alright, we're going to use the old Hobart serial number 1. I've got a 3/8, a 10mm plate. We're going to do a coarse grind, and then we'll run it through a second time. I'm telling you, whatever I paid for that grinder was the best money I ever spent. I divided the meat in half, so that should be about 15 pounds. We need 1 pouch of seasoning, 1 pouch of cure, and 12 ounces of water. We're going to mix that with the meat. What a lot of people recommended in my research is to mix the seasoning with the water first. The kit actually comes with 3 different types of spices. So we're going to use 2 of those, 1 for each batch. This is the Hunter's Blend, whatever that means. Oh, strong. Oh, very strong. Oh, pepper. Lots of pepper. Oh man, that is some strong stuff. mixed up. I don't have a fancy meat mixer, so we gotta do it the old-fashioned way. And running it through the grinder will help kind of mix it up as well. I'm calling that good enough. Okay, we swapped out to an 1/8 inch plate, whatever that is, 3mm. Huh. It's all crumbly. Wasn't expecting that. I got this from my local butcher shop. It's high temperature cheese, so when we go to cook the sausage, it won't, hopefully it won't all just melt. It'll stay nice, cheesy chunks. But they must have given me the bottom of the box or something, I don't know. It's nice and sticky. I think we're on the right track. Still really cold. Okay, I'll whip up the other batch and then we'll go stuff it. Sounds like it's bath time, so we're gonna try to stay out of that. This is my other big upgrade. It's a 3-pound sausage stuffer. It's expensive. I paid about 200 bucks for this thing, but I'm hoping it makes a big difference. The two problems I've always had when making sausage is the sausage sticks to the casing, which I think is probably because I didn't have enough fat content, or I cooked it at too high of a temperature. And the other problem is that the casing shrinks down. It looks like a shriveled up mess. And I believe that's because I'm just not stuffing it tight enough. So the big thing is not to get any air pockets in here. Each time we fill this, that should fill one casing. Okay, let's not get greedy. Look at that. Fantastic. Alright, I've had these casings soaking in warm water for, I don't know, a while now. Stop there. They have to be less than 15 inches to fit in my smoker, so that's 14. That's about as far as I want to go. Trying a mid-stuff refill. I think it might work. That'll work. This better be the last take. Couple more and I'm going to be drunk. The sausage needs about 12 hours to ferment, so we'll leave it in the refrigerator overnight, and tomorrow we'll start the cooking process. The fermentation part is the most interesting to me. You know, most people, when they think of fermentation, they probably think of a beverage like this. But actually, about 1/3 of the foods that we eat are fermented in some way. And the process is pretty universal. We start with a good bacteria, and then we give them something to snack on. In this case, it's sugar that we added in the spice blend. And then the good bacteria eat the sugar, and they create some byproduct. In our case, it's lactic acid. Now, lactic acid is going to lower the pH of the sausage, and it makes it more difficult for bad bacteria to set up shop. As a side effect, it also gives the sausage kind of a distinct, tangy, sort of mildly acidic flavor. And, that's the reason why summer sausage doesn't taste like a cheeseburger, even though they share pretty much all the same ingredients. everybody's got their own opinion about time and temperature. We're going to try about 120 degrees Fahrenheit for maybe an hour. Let it dry the moisture off the outside of the casings and just kind of warm them up. And then we'll slowly ramp the temperature up and we'll add some wood chips. This is an electric smoker. It's not very good at regulating the temperature, especially at low temperatures. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. All right, we're about 4 hours into the smoking process. After about an hour and a half, I added some hickory chips. So we're smoking. The smoker is about 150. Sausage is about 120. I think that should be fine. Just going to keep an eye on it, and I'll keep slowly creeping the temperature up. And our goal is to avoid rendering the fat. So the sausage has little bits of fat that are kind of evenly distributed throughout it. And we want to maintain that. We don't want to get it too hot and render that fat into a liquid. So if it turns into a liquid, it starts to migrate around inside the sausage. And worst case scenario, it starts to drip out. And then we're losing flavor, then we're losing volume. That's what makes the sausage kind of shrink up. So we don't want that. And the idea of ramping the temperature up slowly is so that the sausage cooks evenly. If we just dumped it in the smoker with the temperature at 180 or 200 or something, there's a chance that the outside could get too hot before the inside comes up to temperature, and then we start rendering the fat on the outside. So various strategies. Some people say to increase the temperature like 20 degrees every 2 hours. Other people say just watch the sausage temperature and try to keep the smoker within, say, 20 degrees of the temperature of the sausage until you get kind of towards the end. You may have to kind of bump it up. Anyway, it's working fine right now. We're just gonna maintain our current trajectory. Here we go. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Or might be more helpful to call them top rack, middle rack, bottom rack. So this here is what we want. Nice tight casing. That looks pretty good. Nice distribution of cheese and fat. No big air pockets. The meat's still, nice red color. Soft and moist. That'll be good to eat. The middle rack, it's salvageable, I think. Still have a good distribution. Just it shrunk up a little bit. The casing's kind of loose, but it'll be perfectly edible. On the bottom rack, though, not so sure. So it still really only burned the bottom side. I might be able to just kind of slice that off and save it. We still have some nice chunks of fat and cheese. So the top rack was at about 154 when I pulled it. The middle rack got up as high as 178. And the bottom rack, I didn't even check, I don't know. Obviously got high enough to render out some of the fat. So obviously the smoker didn't cook evenly, and I'm sure it's 100% my fault. Probably the biggest thing is I overloaded it. I mean, I never should have tried to jam 30 pounds of sausage into that small smoker and cook it all at the same time. If I had split it up into 2 batches, I could have put a lot of space between the sausages. It would have been easy to move them around and have them cook more evenly. That's the other thing too. I didn't move the racks around or even the sausages around. I put the temperature probe in the top, shut the door, and I never even looked inside during the whole cooking process. So that was obviously a mistake. And I had the temperature probe in the top. If I would have put it in the bottom, it probably would have given me a better indication of what was going on inside. Anyway, lessons learned. We still have 20, 25 pounds of good sausage. And the rest of that stuff, it's not really bad. We'll use it for something. I'm not that picky. Anyway, I guess we'll move on to something else. Thanks for watching. Try again. You can't catch to save your life, dog. There we go. There we go. Almost.